Assalamualaikum. I'm Jamshid M. Sarifo, the second presenter of the topic, Determination of the Movement of the Particle. Ms. Mansil, the first presenter of this topic, already gave you the preface of our topic. Additional to our introduction, Galileo's experiments lead to Newton's law. Kinematics is the study of motion, while kinetics is the study of what causes changes in motion. Dynamics is composed of kinematics and kinetics. Typically, conditions of motions are specified by the type of acceleration experienced by the particle. The determination of velocity and position requires two successive integrations. Ms. Bansil mentioned that there are three classes of motion. First, the acceleration given as function of time, represented by a is equal to f of t. Second, the acceleration given as function of position, represented as a is equal to f of x. And the last one is the acceleration given as function of velocity, represented by a is equal to f of v. So I have here an example problem. The ball tossed with 10 meter per second vertical velocity from window 20 meter above ground. We need to determine the following. First, velocity and elevation above ground at time t. Second, the highest elevation reached by ball and corresponding time. And third, the time when ball will hit the ground and corresponding velocity. So first, the velocity and elevation above ground at time t. We have here the dv over dt is equal to a is equal to negative 9.81 meter per second squared. We just need to integrate both sides with the initial and final values. So in order to define the motion of the particles, it is necessary to specify the initial conditions of motion. So here we have the integral of dv, limit from 0 to vt, is equal to the negative of the integral of 9.81 dt, limit from 0 to t. So we have vt minus initial velocity is equal to negative 9.81 meter per second squared times the time. So from here, substitute na lang natin yung initial velocity since given naman siya. So we have vt minus 10 meter per second is equal to 9.81 meter per second squared times time. Then transpose the initial velocity. Bali magiging vt is equal to 10 meter per second minus 9.81 meter per second squared times t. For the second integration, kailangan nating makuha yung y of t. So we have dy over dt is equal to v is equal to 10 minus 9.81 times time. Parang yung kanina rin na process, we have to integrate both sides. So we have the integral of dy limit from 0 to yt is equal to the integral of 10 minus 9.8 limit from 0 to t. Bali magiging yt minus y0 is equal to 10t minus 1 half 9.81 t squared. And from that, we can get yt is equal to 20 meters plus 20 meter per second times the time minus 4.90 minus 4.905 meter per second squared times the time squared or the t squared. And then from the same problem, we have to determine the highest elevation reached by ball and corresponding time. From here, we have to solve for the value of t at which velocity equals to 0 and evaluate corresponding amplitude. We have vt is equal to 10 meter per second minus 9.81 meter per second squared times time is equal to 0. We can get the value of t, which is 1.019 seconds. Sunod naman yung pangalawang integration kanina, which is yung yt is equal to 20 meters per 10 meters per second times the time minus 4.905 meter per second squared times t squared. Substitute natin yung nakuha value ng t kanina. So we have y is equal to 20 meters 10 meter per second times 0.019 seconds minus 4.905 meter per second squared times 0.019 seconds squared. And then the answer is y is equal to 25.1 meters. Again, from the same problem, we have to determine the time when the ball will hit the ground and the corresponding velocity. In order to determine what is being asked, we must solve for the value of t at which altitude equals 0 and from that we will evaluate the corresponding velocity. So we have yt or y of t is equal to 20 meters plus 10 meter per second times time minus 4.905 meter per second squared times time squared or t squared is equal to 0. Calculate na lang. Then ang result is may dalawa tayong value ng t. The first one is negative. Since wala namang negative na time, we should consider the second one, which is 3.28 seconds. For the corresponding velocity, since we have the Vt is equal to 10 meter per second minus 9.81 meter per second squared times the t, substitute na lang natin dito yung 3.28 seconds. Bali magiging v times 3.28 seconds is equal to 10 meter per second minus 9.81 meter per second squared times 3.28 seconds. Calculate, and the corresponding velocity is negative 22.2 meter per second. That's all. Thank you.